Guys, please confirm to me. All of you are getting my voice on screen. Those are attending in online. Guys, please confirm to me. All of you are getting my voice on screen. Please confirm to me, guys. All right. Good morning, guys. And check it what we completed in the last session. All right, sir. I think so. We are discussing about the differences between Java and other programming languages we are understanding. In that differences between Java and other programming languages, almost all, how many differences we completed there? Nearly 4 differences we completed. Can you tell me what are the 4 differences that we completed there clearly? First one is C and C++ are static programming languages, but Java is a dynamic programming language. Next one is preprocessor is required in C and C++, but preprocessor is not required in Java. C and C++ are platform dependent programming languages, but Java is platform independent programming language. Next one is pointers are existed in C and C++, but pointers are not existed in Java. If we observe the last class content, pointer is a variable, it able to store address location of the data structures, where the data structures may be a variable, an array, or a struct, or any other pointer variable. Why pointers are not existed in Java? Where I given some reasons clearly. Pointer variables required static memory allocation, but Java is following dynamic memory allocation. Pointer variables are supported by static programming languages, but Java is a dynamic programming language. Pointer variables are supported by platform dependent programming languages, but Java is platform independent programming language. Pointers is a bit confusion oriented feature, but Java is a simple programming language. It does not allow pointers in its programming. Okay. Then after that, after completion of these points, then I given some information about it. What exactly the differences between pointer variables and reference variables? These points we understood clearly. Pointer is a variable exists in C and C++, whereas reference variables are existed in Java. Pointer variables are able to refer a block of memory by storing address locations, but reference variables are able to refer a block of memory, that is an object, by storing object reference value. Note, what is this object reference value actually? Object reference value is the hexadecimal form of hash code, where hash code is an unique identity provided by heap manager in the form of an integer value. Next one is pointer variables required static memory allocation, whereas reference variables required dynamic memory allocation. Pointer variables are recognized by compiler, whereas reference variables are recognized by JVM at runtime. Right, so these are the various points we understood there. Then after that, the next difference in today's session, that would be like what there. Multiple inheritance is not possible in Java. Simply, multiple inheritance is not possible in Java. Next difference. Multiple inheritance is not possible in Java. Guys, I'm telling these differences actually. These differences are giving more content for us. At least we are able to identify how Java is different from C and C++ programming languages. At least by seeing all these differences, you may get some clarity. Not required to learn C programming language to learn Java. Why? Because here itself I'm telling that Java is totally different from C and C++. So both are two different programming languages. Right. Anyway, observe carefully. Multiple inheritance is not possible in Java. Of course, this is possible in the case of C++ and in the case of Python also be possible. But in the case of Java, multiple inheritance is not possible. Okay. Let us understand this, why multiple inheritance is not possible in Java. Before understanding multiple inheritance is possible or not possible in Java, before understanding multiple inheritance is possible or not possible in Java, first we have to understand what is multiple inheritance, where is multiple inheritance, and what exactly the meaning of multiple inheritance. These points we have to understand. All right, sir. Now to give introduction part for this multiple inheritance, I'll give some points to you. Now try to understand it clearly. Good, guys. Now I'm going to ask one question to all of you. Now try to answer for it. Java is an object-oriented programming language or not? Please answer for my question. Java is an object-oriented programming language or not? Definitely. Java is an object-oriented programming language only. How can we say Java is an object-oriented programming language? What is the reason for it? Forget about Java. One programming language is available. That is an object-oriented programming language. When a programming language is an object-oriented programming language, when we are able to decide like this. If we come for this point, answer is very clear. If any programming language is representing data in the form of objects by following object-oriented features. If any programming language is representing data in the form of objects by following object-oriented features, then that programming language is an object-oriented programming language. Yes, all of you observe carefully what I'm telling you. What is an object-oriented programming language actually? If any programming language allows its applications to represent data in the form of objects by following object-oriented features, then that programming language is an object-oriented programming language. Okay, good. We are able to represent data in the form of objects by following object-oriented programming language features. What are these object-oriented features actually? How many number of object-oriented features are available? If you observe this, 7 number of object-oriented features are existed. Overall, 7 number of object-oriented features are available. What are the 7 number of object-oriented features actually? First one is class, and the second one is object, and third one is encapsulation. Third one is what? Encapsulation. Fourth one is abstraction, and the fifth one is inheritance. Fifth one is inheritance, and the sixth one is polymorphism, and seventh one is a message passing. Overall, these are the 7 number of object-oriented features are existed here. Right, guys? Observe carefully. First one is what? Class. Second one is object. Third one is encapsulation, and fourth one is abstraction. Fifth one is inheritance, and the sixth one is a polymorphism, and seventh one is what? No, message passing. Observe, guys, what I'm telling to you clearly. Out of the 7 number of object-oriented features, 4 features are the most powerful object-oriented features. 4 features are the important object-oriented features. Which features are the most powerful object-oriented features here? Encapsulation, abstraction, inheritance, and polymorphism. Encapsulation, abstraction, inheritance, and polymorphism. These features are the most powerful object-oriented features. Okay, fine. Now, our point is what? Related to multiple inheritance is our point. Multiple inheritance is not possible in Java. That point here we have to discuss. So out of these object-oriented features, we need to understand what is inheritance. We need to understand what is an inheritance. What is the requirement of this inheritance? That every point here we have to understand that. Right, guys. Now let's observe this clearly. From all these points, what exactly the meaning of inheritance? If you observe this, before understanding inheritance, understand one more point. In Java, everybody observe carefully. In Java, we are going to provide the programming in the form of classes only. In Java, we are able to write the programs by using classes only. Without classes, we can't write anything inside the Java. We are unable to write any program inside the Java. Definitely, what we required here, no classes we required. Okay, fine. Say for example, class A, and here some variables and methods here we are able to declare. Right. Similarly, we are going to write like what there, no class B. Class B. Here also be some variables and methods here we are able to declare. Got my point or not? So everywhere we are going to use classes in Java programming, especially in object-oriented programming. Definitely, we have to use what classes. So like this, we are able to write the classes. Example wise, I have taken A, B, but strictly speaking, class employee or class customer or class account, something else, some real world entities we are going to take for the classes. Good. This is okay. The classes declaration, what we are having clearly. Okay, fine. Now here, what exactly the meaning of inheritance here I'm telling to you. Observe carefully. It is a relation between classes. Guys, observe carefully. It is what? It is a relation between classes. What this relation will do, what this inheritance relation will do, is very clear. It will bring variables and methods from one class to another class. It will bring variables and methods from one class to another class in order to improve reusability. In order to improve what? Reusability. There is a lot of meaning inside this particular one. I'll give an example also. Don't worry for it. Here the point is what? What is inheritance here? If you observe this, no? It is a relation between classes. Relation between classes. More than one class we are able to write in our Java program. In between these classes, we need some relationship. To define that relationship, we are using what? Inheritance. So inheritance is a relation between classes. What it will do? It will bring variables and methods from one class to another class in order to improve reusability. See, now I'm asking one question here. It will bring variables and methods from one class to another class. Am I right or not? One class to another class. It will bring variables and methods from one class to another class in the sense, one class, it has to provide variables and methods to other class. Other class has to take variables and methods from another class. Am I right or not? So definitely one class has to provide variables and methods or not. The class which is providing variables and methods to some other class, the class which is providing variables and methods to some other class, that class is called as like what there super class. That class is called as like what there super class. Observe carefully. The class which is providing variables and methods to some other class, that class is called as what there no super class. In other words, we may call it as like what there parent class. I'm telling to you, parent class. See, actually, this parent class terminology is not available in Java. In Java, the terminology is what? Super class only. But for our understanding purpose, I'm using that content is like what? No, parent class. Otherwise, parent class word is not available in Java. That is general terminology only, not any specific. Okay, leave this one. To another class. Here, what is this another class? Another class, the class which is taking variables and methods from superclass or not? Another class is taking variables and methods from another class or not? So this class is called as like what their subclass. This class is called as like what no subclass or child class. This class is called as like what no subclass, or we can say child class. Guys, observe carefully. Inheritance is a relation between classes. Inheritance is a relation between classes. Understand it clearly. It will provide variables and methods from one class to another class. One class is giving variables and methods to some other. So this class is called as what? Superclass. The class which is getting variables and methods, that a class is what they know? Subclass. Observe carefully. Okay, fine. For what purpose this variables and methods are provided from one class to another class? No, to improve reusability. To improve reusability. I'll give clarity. What is the meaning of reusability also? I'll give much clarity. Now try to understand it now. Say for example, guys, all of you observe carefully. All of you observe carefully. Say for example, I want to take a employee. Employee I want to take, guys. Observe carefully. Employee is a real world entity. I want to represent this employee in our programming. Okay. Now tell me, not only this employee, how many types of employees are available? How many types of employees are available? Now tell me, two types of employees are existed. Say for example, temporary employees, and second one is what? Permanent employees. Contract employees and permanent employees. These two types of employees are existed. Try to understand it clearly. Okay, now my intention is I need to represent temporary employee and as well as permanent employee I need to represent. This is my requirement. Okay, then how I'm going to represent this now? Say for example, temporary employee, I want to take it as a class. Class temporary employee. At the same time, class permanent employee. Class permanent employee. Observe carefully, guys, what I'm telling you now. So, okay, two types of employees I want to represent. So here I've taken two classes. Temporary employees is one category, permanent employees is another category that we have taken. Nice. Next one is after that. Now tell me what properties are existed inside the temporary employees now. Tell me first of all, here what we required. Say for example, string employee ID is required or not? Even though temporary employee, definitely one ID is required or not? Nice. Next one is a string employee name is required or not? Definitely. Every temporary employer, permanent employee name is required or not? It's okay, fine. Next one is float employee salary is required or not? Definitely. Then after that, for temporary employee, what we are able to have the content here now. Next one is, say for example, um, date date of join is existed. For permanent employee also date of join not required. Date of join and all these things are not required. For temporary employees, what specific rules are available there now? Tell me. Contract duration. Am I right or not? Contract duration. That thing is going to be existed here. Say for example, into contract duration. Contract duration that is existed here. That is one thing. Am I right or not? Okay, something else. Some other specific properties are existed here. Next one, if you have to this permanent employee, inside this permanent employee also, what we are going to have, employee ID is required or not? And moreover, inside this temporary employee, apart from this, number of methods are also be existed. Not only variables, some other methods are also be existed. Leave this one. Now coming to this permanent employee, here also be employee ID is required or not? Employee ID, string employee ID. Employee name is also be required. Okay, fine. And float employee salary is also be required. Next one is like what now? For permanent employee, contract duration is not existed. Not possible. But some benefits are more for the permanent employee. What are the benefits that permanent employee is able to get here? Say for example, we can understand TA allowances are available. For example, understand it clearly. TA allowances are available. Next one is what now? Provident fund is also be existed here, and so on. Some other things are existed here. Observe carefully. All right, sir. Now, everybody understand this point clearly. How many classes I have written here? Two classes I have written. As I want to represent temporary employee and permanent employee, two classes I have written. Observe carefully. Observe carefully. In two classes, some data is very much common or not? Some variables are very much common or not? Similarly, not only variables, some methods are also be common. I have not written methods here. Some methods are also be common. But understand this clearly. Between temporary employee and permanent employee, some variables declaration is common. Am I right or not? Tell me which variables are very much common here between these two classes. No, employee ID, employee name, employee salary. Of course, if you want to take employee address, that is also be common. You can observe this clearly. Employee address is required definitely. Here also be employee address is very much common. So overall, four variables are common between temporary employee and permanent employee or not. All of you observe carefully. One time we declared in a temporary employee class, same variables again we declared in a permanent employee class. So that means duplicates we provided or not. Duplicate code, duplicate variables we provided or not. Observe carefully. When duplicates we provided, automatically code redundancy is increased or not. Duplicate data in the sense redundant data. When duplicate data is increased, automatically code redundancy will be increased or not. Guys, all of you understand this clearly. When a code duplication is increased, automatically code redundancy is increased. So code redundancy is not at all suggestible in our applications. Code redundancy, duplicate code is not suggestible. It is not fair enough in our applications. So definitely we have to provide some solution. What is the solution here? What is the solution we are expecting? First of all, what we are expecting from this particular one? The point is employee ID, employee name, employee salary, and employee address. Two times I declared. So I should not declare two times here. One time I want to declare, but that I want to utilize in a temporary employee class and a permanent employee class. Only one time only I want to declare, but that I want to reuse, that I want to provide it to, that I want to be provided to temporary employee class and a permanent employee class. Understand my point here now? So exactly in this particular situation, we have to go for inheritance concept to improve reusability. Reusability in the sense only one time I want to declare, but I want to reuse that two times. Declaration is going on only one time, but that I want to reuse, multiple times here. So where inheritance concept is required. How we are going to define inheritance now? How it is possible to specify this inheritance now? Observe carefully. As per this inheritance, what I will do there, I want to take a class employee, a separate class I will take. Generalized class. This is what? Generalized class. This is generalized class has to represent temporary employee and has to represent what? Permanent employee, of course. Anyway, it must be used. So this is a generalized class. Observe carefully. Now inside this generalized class, what we have to do now? What variables are common in both the temporary employee class and permanent employee class? Delete that variables and keep that common variables inside this employee class. Common variables and methods we have to keep inside this employee class. So here also we have to delete them. Observe carefully. So take one generalized class. Which variables are common between our classes there? Remove that variables in the common classes, then keep that common variables inside the generalized class, employee class. Then after that, what we have to do now? Extend this generalized classes to temporary employee and permanent employee. Extend this, that means define inheritance relation between employee class and a temporary employee. Next, employee class and a permanent employee. Then how we are able to establish this inheritance relation between these two things now? Simple. Go to the class temporary employee, in which class we require that employee class members. There we have to write extends employee. What we have to write there? Extends employee. Now this extends is what? There is a keyword which represents inheritance relation in Java. Extends is a keyword, it represents inheritance in Java. So class temporary employee extends what? Their employee. Then automatically what is the meaning of it now? Whenever we establish this type of relation between temporary employee and employee, automatically employee class is becoming a super class and temporary employee class is what? No, subclass. employee is a superclass and temporary employee is what? No, subclass. Yes, sir. All of you are getting my point or not? Okay, fine. When temporary employee is a subclass for the employee class, automatically all the members of employee class, will come to temporary employee. All members of employee class will come to temporary employee. Here what I am telling there, we can reuse all members of employee class here. All members of employee class. We can reuse that. Here we can reuse all members of employee class as a temporary employee is a child class to employee parent class. Okay. Now similarly, now observe carefully. In a permanent employee class also, I required the same common variables. In permanent employee class also, I require the same common variables. Then what we have to do, guys? Now tell me what we have to do. Now tell me again. Here we need to extend. We need to extend that employee class or not. So here what we have to write there? Extends employee. Now tell me what is this extends keyword in Java? Extends keyword is representing inheritance. Extends keyword is representing what? Inheritance. What it is providing there? It is confirming that employee class is a superclass and permanent employee class is what? No, subclass. That means whatever the variables and methods which are available in employee class, all these variables and methods we can reuse inside like what there? Permanent employee. So here I can use that reuse all members of employee class here. Reuse all members of employee class here. We can reuse all members of employee class here. Okay, guys. Now I'm asking one question to you. Now try to answer for it. Now tell me, in this overall scenario, how many times I declared EID, ENAME, ECL, and EEDIT here? One time or two times? Only one time we declared. Am I right or not? Only one time, that too, that in employee class. But how many times we are reusing the same set of variables? How many times we are reusing the same set of variables? Two times we are reusing the same set of variables. So reusability is improved or not? Reusability is improved or not? But previously, in the previous case, no, how many classes we have taken? In how many classes we require the CID, ENAME, ECL, and EID here? Every time we have to redeclare the variables. Every time we have to declare again and again the same variables now. But if we follow this inheritance relationship, one time if we declare in a superclass, that we can reuse any number of times in the child classes. And now tell me here, which class is acting as superclass now? Which class is acting as superclass now? Come on, guys. Which class is acting as superclass? Employee class is acting as superclass. Which classes are acting subclasses now? Temporary employee is acting as subclass and permanent employee is also be acting as what? No, subclass. So if we declare anything in superclass, automatically that will come to the any number of subclasses. Say for example, today temporary employee and permanent employee. Maybe some other day, maybe next day, I want to go for class some XXX employee. Some other type is existed. There also I require the same content. There also I require the same content. Same EID, ENAME, ECL, and EID. There also I need to provide this. Now tell me, then what I have to do? Then two options are available. Either redeclare the variables again here, or extend the employee class to this particular class and reuse that employee class members. What we are going to do now? What is optimistic solution here now? Redeclaring the same variables again, or extending employee class to this particular one, reusing that existed variables. Which one is the best approach now? Which one is the best approach now? There definitely in the tomorrow, if you want to declare some other type of employee, then where what we have to do? Can I declare like this again here? String employee ID and a string employee name. Can I declare variables like this? No, this is not right solution. Where again, what is going to be happen there? No, where again redundancy will be increased. To reduce the redundancy, to improve code reusability, where what we have to do there now? Tell me. There we have to provide extends employee, then automatically what option here we are able to get there? We can reuse all members of employee class here. We can reuse all members of employee class here. So all of you understand this inheritance topic or not? What exactly the benefit we are getting from inheritance now? Tell me. What is the advantage of inheritance now? Tell me. Tell me, guys, what is advantage of inheritance? Now tell me. Already given that the main advantage of inheritance is what is this one? Code reusability. What's the main advantage? Code reusability. See, one thing I'm telling to you guys. I'm telling to you clearly. Observe carefully. See, these concepts are related to object orientation. Again, I will talk these topics in object orientation with a full detailed manner. But if I want to say multiple inheritance is not possible in Java, in the differences, no, definitely I have to talk about what is multiple inheritance. If I want to talk about multiple inheritance, definitely we have to understand what is inheritance. Otherwise, we will not understand our today's topic. Moreover, only one point. Only one point. The point is what? It is required to declare same set of variables again and again in multiple classes, where automatically duplicate variables are increased in our application development. To reduce these duplicate variables, we have to reduce code redundancy. To reduce code redundancy, we have to go for code reusability. To achieve code reusability, we have to go for inheritance. How we are going to use inheritance? No, first we will declare one general class, generalized class, where all common variables and methods we will declare. Then that common variables and methods we will remove from the other classes now. In which class we require that common variables and methods, simply we will extend the generalized class to the respective class, where we can reuse that generalized class methods. Same approach we can do at any number of classes. Then automatically, one time we are able to declare the variables, then at any number of times we can reuse that variables in the respective classes. Just it is a matter of defining inheritance relation between two classes. One is a superclass, another one is what? Subclass. Superclass is providing variables and methods. Subclasses are taking that variables and methods. Understand it? Not more than this. All of you are getting clarity on these points now? Can I move forward? Can I move forward? Right, sir. Now, can I inherit only 3 out of 5 variables from superclass? Not like that. That depends on your requirement. How many variables we want to get from superclass to subclass? The point is, all members of superclass are available to subclasses. Every member of superclass is available to subclass. Then which one is required? That we can reuse. Which one is don't require? Don't use that. Using or not using, that is depending on our option. But first of all, they're available to the child classes. They're available to the child classes, then use them or not using them, that depends on our requirement, then we can utilize it. Observe carefully. There is no specific members restriction to use inside the subclasses. Understand it clearly. Right, guys? Can we extend subclass to another subclass? Okay, wait for it. Then I will go for types of inheritances there. There we can understand all these points, no? But first of all, here what I'm telling to you, all of you might be aware about what is inheritance, the basic requirement of the inheritance that we understood clearly, right? All of you guys understand it clearly. Initially, there are two types of inheritances. Initially, how many types of inheritances are existed there? Only two types of inheritances. What are the two types of inheritances now? Observe carefully. First one is a single inheritance. First one is what? Single inheritance. Second one is like what there? Multiple inheritance. Second one is what? Multiple inheritance. Guys, all of you answer for it. There are two types of inheritances. What are the two types of inheritances now? Single inheritance, and second one is what? Multiple inheritance. Observe carefully. Okay, fine. Now, then after that, after completion of this, then what I'm telling to you, on the basis of these two types of inheritances, on the basis of these two types of inheritances, three more inheritances are defined. Three more inheritances are defined. On the basis of these two types of inheritances, three more inheritances are defined. What are the three more inheritances are defined here? First one is multi-level inheritance. Just I will give names only, not required. These types of inheritances are not required. I need only first two types of inheritances. I need only first two types of inheritances only. I don't take your remaining types, but a list I am providing. As a list I am providing, but I will not explain totally about remaining three types now. Again, I will discuss this total inheritance topic in object orientation. Don't worry for it. Now the second one is like what there? Like a hierarchical inheritance. hierarchical inheritance, and the third one is hybrid inheritance. And the third one is what? Hybrid inheritance. Guys, all of you now tell me overall how many types of inheritances are available overall? Overall, 5 types of inheritances are available. What are the 5 types of inheritances now? Single inheritance, multiple inheritance, multi-level inheritance, and a hierarchical inheritance, and hybrid inheritance. Point is clear or not? Overall, 5 types of inheritances are existed. Everybody guess. Observe carefully. Understand clearly. Out of these 5 types, no, first I required only these 2 types. First 2 types only I required as per our discussion. Remaining types I will discuss in objective orientation. Now let's observe this clearly. What is single inheritance? What exactly the meaning of single inheritance? Everybody understand this definition clearly? All of you observe carefully this definition. No? What is single inheritance? Guys, it is a relation between classes. As usual, inheritance in the sense it's a relation between classes. What it will do? It will bring variables and methods from. Remember carefully. It will bring variables and methods from only one super class to one or more number of subclasses. That's it. Guys, now tell me what is this single inheritance? What exactly the definition I've given there? It is a relation between classes. It will bring variables and methods from only one superclass. That means how many superclasses here? Only one superclass to number of subclasses may be anything, any number of subclasses to one or more number of subclasses. We don't have any condition on it. But number of superclasses should be only one superclass. How many superclasses can no? Only one superclass, but number of subclasses may be one or more number of subclasses. We have condition on only number of superclasses. We don't have any condition on number of child classes. Please remember this clearly. Okay, fine. It is a relation between classes. It will bring variables and methods from only one superclass to one or more number of subclasses. That we understood. Okay, fine. Next, observe carefully. I want to represent this in a diagrammatic representation. Now try to understand this clearly, all of you guys. Okay, now I will give diagrammatic representation. All of you observe carefully. For example, I want to take a superclass. This is a superclass. And I want to take this is a subclass. Okay. Here I want to say here this is a class A. And this is a class B. Observe carefully. In a Java, inheritance relation we can represent diagrammatically with a upwards arrow. Upwards arrow is representing what? Inheritance. Okay. Now here, this is inheritance. So I can say like what there extends a keyword. Arrow header part. Arrow header part is always representing superclass. Arrow Tyler part is always representing what? Subclass. For example, in a class A, I'll declare int I is equal to 10 void m1 method. That is method actually. Observe carefully. I declared class A is a superclass and class B is a child class. In a class A superclass, one variable, one method we declared. In class A superclass, one variable, one method we declared. Okay. As a class B is a child class to class A, class B has the rights to access all members of class A or not. Class B has rights to access all members of class A or not. So we can use I is equal to I plus 10 again m1 method here we can call. Observe carefully here. Where I declared I variable and m1 method in the superclass K. Am I right or not? Declaring in the sense int I is equal to 0, void m1 method. Definitions I provided in super class. But where I'm using these variables and methods now, in the child class. In the child class. How many super classes I've taken? Only one super class. Any number of subclasses we can take, but in this example I've taken only one subclass here. That's okay, fine. So this is single inheritance. This is possible in Java. This is possible in Java. No issues. This is possible as is we can use in Java. No confusion with this particular topic. Let's observe this clearly. All of you guys, observe carefully. Then, what is this multiple inheritance actually? What exactly the meaning of this multiple inheritance? Now here I'm telling there, Java doesn't support single inheritance. Okay, Java does support single inheritance. Then what is this multiple inheritance actually? What is the meaning of it now? Tell me guys, you only give reason for it, you only give the definition for it. It is a relation between classes. What? This is a relation between classes. What this relation will do now? It will bring, all right sir, it will bring variables and methods. It will bring variables and methods from more than one class. It will bring variables and methods from more than one class to one or more number of subclasses. See, now tell me, here also be the number of, here also be the condition is unlike what there. Here also be the condition on more than one superclass, more than one superclass to one or more number of subclasses. Now tell me, here also be the condition is like what there, number of superclasses. Now in the case of multiple inheritance, how many superclasses we have to take now? How many superclasses we have to take now? In the case of multiple inheritance, how many superclasses here we have to take now? Is that single superclass or more than one superclass? More than one superclass. Please recognize this point here. In the case of single inheritance, no, only one superclass. But in the case of multiple inheritance, no, how many superclasses we have to take? No, more than one superclass. Up to the difference here. In the case of single inheritance, variables and methods will be taken from only one superclass. But in the case of multiple inheritance, we will get variables and methods from how many superclasses there? More than one superclass. As are you following or not? Nothing. Very simple content here now. Right. Now let's observe this clearly. Now I want to show the same thing in diagrammatic manner. Observe carefully. Now this is one superclass and this is another superclass. This is one superclass, this is another superclass. Now this is a child class that we have taken. All right, sir. Now I want to represent superclasses like this. Here one upward arrow, here also one arrow here we have taken. This is one arrow. I want to give some names also clearly. Now this is like what there, class A, and this is like what, class B. Now this is like what there, class C. Here what we have to provide there, extends. Guys, all of you observe carefully. This is inheritance architecture. Now tell me, by seeing this representation, which classes are acting as superclasses and which class is acting as subclass? Now tell me. Class A and class B are superclasses and class C is what? Subclass. Right. Now okay, I'm trying to declare int I is equal to 10 here. Then I'm trying to declare void m1 method here. Okay, void m1 method. That's okay, fine. Next one is class B. Class B int j is equal to 20 here. And the next one is void m2 method. Here we declared. Okay. Observe carefully. In two superclasses, I declared variables and methods. Right. Now tell me, what is the class C situation? That class C can reuse all members of A and B or not? Class C can reuse all members of A and B or not? Sir. Guys, and people are not giving any response to me. So good morning to all of you guys. Say good morning to me at least. What is this? Loud speak. Loud. Good morning. Right. Maintain the same tempo whenever I'm asking the questions now. Right. And let's see now. Now tell me. In the same tempo, you have to give answers for me. Which class are sober classes here? Which class is the child class? No. Right. Listen. Right, sir. Now, okay, the point is what? In a class C, what is the fundamental right for class C? As a class C is a child class for class A and class B, class C can reuse all members from A and B or not? As A and B are sober classes and C is a child class now. Then I want to use that I is equal to I plus 10 semicolon. Sorry. I is equal to I plus 10 semicolon. Next one is J is equal to J plus 10 again semicolon. Next one is I can call this M1 method here. At the same time, I can call M2 method here. Am I right or not? Right, sir. Up to this also we are not having any problem. Up to this also here we are not getting any problem. This is multiple inheritance is a basic definition I'm giving there clearly. My point is clear or not? But here the problem is what? Here the question is multiple inheritance is not possible in Java. Multiple inheritance is not possible in Java. Up to now we are not having any problem, but still this is not existed in Java. Why it is not possible in Java? Why it is not existed in Java? That I want to ask you, that I want to give clarity for you. Why it is not possible in Java? Everybody must understand this point clearly. All right, sir. Observe carefully why it is not possible in Java. Let me take the same structure once again, no, but with the small changes. No, this is one superclass, and this is another superclass. Here, two child classes. That means only one child class is existed. Fine. Now I want to define inheritance relation between these two. What inheritance relation here we provided here? Now this is one thing, and this is another one, and here we provided this is another content. Observe carefully. Now as it is, I want to give some names also. Now this is like what there, class A, and this is a class B, and this is what there, class C. Now it would be extends relation now. Again I'm asking there, how many sober classes I have taken? Two sober classes. How many child classes I have taken? One child class I have taken. Nice. Now here, observe carefully. I'm going to provide almost similar to previous diagram only, but understand it. Small change is available. Int I is equal to 10 I have taken. Then after that, here I will take void M1 method. Inside this M1 method, I want to provide some X implementation. Some code is X code. I'm going to provide X implementation. I provided. This is like what there M1 method. All of you okay now? Right. Observe carefully. In a class B superclass, what I'm trying to take now, int I is equal to 20 I have taken. In a previous diagram, in a class B superclass, different variable I have taken, J variable. But in the present diagram, in a class B superclass, I have taken the same variable of class K. Observe carefully. So int I is equal to 20. This is I variable with a different value. Next one is I want to declare a method. Void M1 method. Same method here I have taken, but inside this M1 method, which implementation here we provided here? Y implementation here we provided. Which implementation there? Y implementation. Okay, fine. Y implementation here we provided. Int I is equal to 20, void M1 method, and Y implementation here we provided. Okay, now just 1 minute. Think a minute about this point here. Class C is a child class for class A and class B. It has the rights to access all members of class A and class B. It can access all members of A and B directly. Okay, fine. Now, observe carefully. I is equal to I plus 10. Then I'm calling M1 method. I is equal to I plus 10 and I'm calling M1 method. Guys, please recognize this point now. C is a child class for class A and class B. A members and B members both are available to class C. Am I right or not? A class members and B class members are available to class C. Now, A is equal to I is equal to I plus 10. I have used. Now, I variable is not defined in class C, that is defined in super classes. Now, compiler is checking I is equal to I plus 10. If you want to perform, definitely I variable must have a value or not. I variable must have some value. In the class C, directly I variable is not defined. So definitely class C has to get I variable from the super classes only. But how many super classes are available? Two super classes are available. In two super classes, how many I variables are available? Two I variables are available. In a class A, one I variable. In a class B, another I variable. So here the question is, from which super class I variable value has to be taken by class C? From which superclass I value must be taken by class C? That's the question here. If you think about it, I value is coming from class A superclass. In class A superclass, I value is 10. I is equal to 10 plus 10. I value 20. Is it 20? If you think I value is coming from class B superclass, no, where I value is 20, I is equal to I plus 10. I is equal to 20 plus 10, no, 30. Is it 30? Okay, similarly, the same question is available while calling this M1 method. Whenever we access M1 method, then a superclass has to get, it has to execute one superclass M1 method. JVM has to execute one superclass M1 method. Then which superclass M1 method has to be executed by JVM? Which superclass M1 method must be taken care by, must be taken in the count by compiler. So if we take A class, A superclass M1 method where X implementation is available, is that X implementation? And if we take B is a superclass for class C now, if we take B class provided M1 method, is that Y implementation? Which implementation it is now? Is that X implementation or Y implementation? Which implementation must be evaluated by JVM? Now you only tell me, guys. You only tell me what exactly that values can know. I is equal to I plus 10 here we provided. That means from which superclass I value has to be come here, has to take now. Is that from A superclass or B superclass? And from which superclass M1 method implementation has to be taken? Is that from A superclass or B superclass? Now tell me, in this particular scenario, variables and methods are coming from which superclass? Which superclass I value, which superclass M1 method has to be taken care? Understood my question? From which superclass we have to get these variables and methods? That's my question. Now we are having two sets of I variables and two copies of M1 method is available. Of course, values are different and implementation part is different. But from which superclass we have to access I value? From which superclass we have to access M1 method? This is a situation for compiler and JVM. Not only for us. This is a situation for compiler and JVM. Now tell me, it is a confusion oriented feature or not? It's a confusion or not? We are at a junction. Which path we have to take is a confusion. Am I right or not? Now it's a confusional situation or not? Exactly. This multiple inheritance is providing this type of confusion for the developers. Not only for the developers, for the compiler and for JVM, the same confusion is available. In both the superclasses, I variable is available. In both the superclasses, M1 method is available. From which superclass that I variable value, that M1 method implementation has to be taken. That is a confusion in the case of Java. In the case of Java, that is confusion. But we know already Java is a simple programming language. Java is what? A simple programming language. It should not allow all the confusion oriented features. Java is a simple programming language. It should not allow all the confusion oriented features. Because of this particular reason, Java does not allow multiple inheritance. Java does not support what? Multiple inheritance. Java is not allowing multiple inheritance as part of its applications clearly. So finally, what we understood there, final conclusion is what? Multiple inheritance is a confusion oriented feature or not? Multiple inheritance is a confusion oriented feature. So it should not allow all the confusion oriented features as part of its applications. Because of this particular reason, multiple inheritance is not provided in this particular content. Understand, guys, what I'm telling them? But in other programming languages, this multiple inheritance is allowed. Forget about C++ here. Too much internal content is required to understand this, not required. But I will talk the same thing in the case of Python. In Python, the situation was resolved. How the situation is resolved in the case of C, in the case of Python, no? I'll give one example. Try to understand it here. Now tell me, if you want to write the same thing, if you want to write this situation in the coding part now, what we are going to take now? Class C extends A comma P or not? The same scenario here we have to write or not? Am I right or not? Class C extends A comma P or not? Observe carefully. So what, whenever we have written like this, no, whenever we are using I is equal to I plus 10 now, whenever we are using I is equal to I plus 10, first PVM in the sense Python virtual machine, in which way we are having JVM, in the same way PVM is existed now. PVM first it will search for, PVM will search for I variable in the first superclass. Order it will take. In the order, in a first superclass, PVM will search for I variable. If I variable is available in the first superclass, no, it will take directly that value from A superclass and it will use it. Then it will not search in the B superclass. It will stop that process. In the case, if I variable is not available in A superclass, no, then only PVM will go to B superclass, next superclass. Next superclass. Okay, if it is available there, it will reuse it. There also, if it is not available, then it will search in the next superclass. In the order, comma C if you have there, C class, comma D if you have, D superclass. All the superclasses it will check. Still it is not available, then it will give an error message anyway. But in any of these superclasses, if it is available, then it will take that value, it will use that value there. For example, in both the superclasses, I variable is available. For example, in A superclass, in class A, for example, int I is equal to 10, I have taken. Now here, class B, I have taken class B. Inside this, int J is equal to 20, sorry, int I is equal to 20, we have taken. Am I right or not? If it is Python, for example, if it is Python, now tell me, what is that I value here we are able to get now? From which superclass I value has to be taken here? First, it will check in class A superclass. In class A, I variable is available or not available? Available. Then it will use the 10 now. I is equal to 10 plus 10. 10 plus 10 is what? Not 20. That's it. For example, if I variable is not existed in the superclass now, in superclass K, I variable is not existed. First, PVM will search for I variable in superclass K. If it is not available, then it will search in the next superclass. What is this next superclass now? B superclass. Now B superclass I variable is available or not? So I value is what? I is equal to 20 there. I is equal to I plus 10. I is equal to 20 plus 10. Now the value is what now? 30. This is in the case of what now? Python, not in Java. Clear? I'm not getting clarity. Still not audible. Please, can you come? 1 minute. Yeah. Class A has.
Class A has I variable.
Yeah, good.
Class B has I variable.
Yeah, exactly.
Now C is extending A and B.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, in case of Python, because you touched it, that's why I'm out of curiosity I'm asking.
Mm-hmm.
Would it be terminating the execution when it find it first, or would it execute second as well?
No, if for example, in both the cases, I variable values existed in both the superclasses, first PVM will search for I variable in a local class, current class, not existed. Then it will search that I variable in the first superclass. If I variable value is existed in the first superclass, it will take it and will reuse it. That will finish. It will not search in the P superclass.
It will not go to the second class.
No. Fine. Right, guys. Now observe carefully. So anyway, now this is a Python related topic, but the point is how this problem is resolved in the case of Python. In the sense, Python design is available like this. Python was implemented in this way. Similarly, in the case of C++, might be some other approach might be existed to resolve this particular situation. But Java, they have not given any solution for this particular point. In Java, they have not given any solution for this particular point. So directly they said this situation is a confusion oriented situation. So Java won't allow this kind of situations in our programming. So multiple inheritance is not allowed in Java. Directly, officially they given this particular statement. Multiple inheritance is not possible in the case of Java. Right. Then one more point here, what I'm telling there. Here the point is, anyway, now this content is not required for us. This is about related to Python anyway. Now here, the point is how Java has given this restriction to the developers, not to use a multiple inheritance in Java applications. How Java has implemented that particular point, not to use multiple inheritance in Java. How this restriction was implemented in Java. Right. Further, I'm giving clarity to you. Now, try to understand it clearly. Right, sir. To avoid multiple inheritance, in Java applications, Java has defined extends keyword in such a way, to allow only one superclass name, not to allow more than one superclass name. All right, sir. Observe carefully. To avoid multiple inheritance in Java applications, Java has defined extends keyword in such a way to allow only one superclass name, not to allow more than one superclass name in a class declaration. Observe carefully. I'll give clarity now. Understand? All of you understand this clearly. What exactly the point I'm telling you? Say for example, class A I have declared, sir. Some members I defined. Leave it. Next one is what there? Class B I provided. And some declarations are existed. Okay, fine. Now my point is what? Class C. When I've taken this class C, here now inside this class C declaration, if you provide extends keyword, along with this extends keyword, if you say up to A, it's okay. Up to A, it's okay. A or B, whatever it may be, it's okay. One class name is okay. After that, if you put comma, their compiler will raise an error. At least if you put comma after A, their compiler will raise an error. That means if comma in the sense next to superclass, we are going to specify. If you provide like this, then compiler will identify the situation. It seems it is multiple inheritance, but Java is not allowing this multiple inheritance. Then whenever we are putting this comma, in place of comma, directly compiler is raising an error. Definitely it will raise an error here. It means that extends keyword functionality is what? Extends keyword was implemented in such a way to allow only one superclass name along with extends keyword, not to allow more than one superclass name. Up to class K, it is not giving any error up to this part here. But whenever we are putting comma there after this class K, immediately compiler will raise an error. So it seems it is multiple inheritance. It is not allowed inside the Java. So this kind of situation here we are able to get clear. So this is the way how Java has restricted multiple inheritance its applications clearly. Right, guys. Now this is the total scenario here. We can observe carefully. Now tell me overall what exactly the content here I discussed today. Multiple inheritance is not possible in Java. That I given complete information. But what exactly the content here we discussed in today's session. All of you observe this clearly. Our title is what? Today our title is what? Multiple inheritance is not possible in Java. That's our title now. First of all, I started our discussion with when a programming language is an object-oriented programming language. I've given that point. Tell me, when a programming language is an object-oriented programming language, if any programming language allows its applications to represent data in the form of objects by following object-oriented features, then that programming language is called as what? Object-oriented programming language. In general, in object-oriented programming languages, data will be represented in the form of objects by following some principles. That principles are called as what? Object-oriented features. How many number of object-oriented features are available? 7 number of object-oriented features are available. What are the 7 number of object-oriented features now? Class, object, encapsulation, abstraction, inheritance, polymorphism, and message passing. That's okay, fine. Next one is Out of these 7 number of object oriented features now, 4 features are the most powerful object oriented features. Which features are the most powerful object oriented features here now? Encapsulation, abstraction, inheritance, and polymorphism. These 4 features are the most powerful object oriented features. Observe carefully. Next one is inheritance. What is inheritance is required here. Inheritance is a relation between classes. It will bring variables and methods from one class to another class. Here the class which is giving variables and methods is called as superclass. The class which is getting variables and methods from another class is called as what? Subclass. That's okay, fine. What is the main advantage of this inheritance actually? The main advantage of inheritance is what there? Code reusability. How this code reusability I have explained in the diagram there clearly. No? So declare variables and methods in superclass that you can reuse in the respective subclasses. At any place we can reuse that variables and methods in the subclasses. No, that's okay, fine. Then further I have taken some example there. Employee class I have taken where temporary employee and permanent employee that I have taken some reusability concept I discussed it there clearly. Then after that, how many types of inheritances are existed actually? There are initially 2 types of inheritances are existed. What are the 2 types of inheritances initially? Single inheritance and multiple inheritance. On the basis of the single and multiple inheritances, 3 more inheritances are defined. What are the 3 more inheritances? No, multi-level inheritance, hierarchical inheritance, and hybrid inheritance. These things are not required immediately. That's why I have not given any information about these three. These three I will discuss in object orientation. In the future concepts, I will discuss about these concepts. But I know I required only these 2 concepts here. Then immediately I given definition for single inheritance. I given definition for what there? Single inheritance. Tell me guys, all of you now tell me, what is a single inheritance actually? It is a relation between classes. It will bring variables and methods from how many superclasses? No, only one superclass. Here the condition is what? From only one superclass that variables and methods are coming to any number of subclasses. No condition on number of subclasses. Only condition is on what there? Number of superclasses. Observe carefully. Then I given diagram also. Some diagrammatic representation also be I given clearly. What was the diagram here I given there? Observe carefully. 1 minute, guys. All right, so then a diagram I given for this. What was the diagram here I provided there? Now this is a diagram here I've given. Only one superclass I've taken where I variable value 10, M1 method implementation I've taken. I is equal to I plus 10 and M1 method. Here what's the meaning now? If we declare variables and methods at superclass, that we can reuse at our child classes. That point here I've taken that. That's okay, fine. Then after that, after completion of this, I given a conclusion. Java does support single inheritance. We don't have any problem with that. Next one is what? Multiple inheritance. What is this multiple inheritance actually? It is a relation between classes. It will bring variables and methods from how many superclasses? No, more than one superclass. Here the condition is what? More than one superclass. Variables and methods are coming from more than one superclass to one or more number of subclasses here. Okay. Here, what is the point I'm telling there? Here the point is like what there? Java does not support multiple inheritance. Java does not support multiple inheritance. That's the point here. Okay, why Java is not supporting multiple inheritance? I want to know that. To know that particular information, here we are having like what there. Observe carefully. I given some diagram here. What was the diagram here I given there? Observe carefully. First of all, I given what is multiple inheritance. In this diagram, 2 superclass I have taken, class A, class B, and one child class I have taken, that is class C. In a superclasses, in both the superclasses, I variable M1 method in class A superclass, J variable M2 method in a class B superclass. In a class C child class, we can reuse both the superclass members. Normal diagram I have taken, normal situation I have taken, I reused I variable from class A, J variable from class B, M1 method from class A, M2 method from class B. Up to that, we are not having any problem. Even though this situation is a cool, but still we are not allowing. This situation is also not allowed inside the Java. Why this is not allowed inside the Java? Why this multiple inheritance is not allowed in Java? If you come for this point, answer is very clear here. Observe carefully. I have taken the redesign the same diagram, but this time in both the superclasses, class A and class B, I took the same variable, but different values, of course. Same method with the different implementations. In a class A superclass, I value 10, and in class B superclass I value 20. In a class A superclass, M1 method with X implementation. In a class B superclass, M1 method with the Y implementation that we have taken. Now, class C is a child class for class A and class B. Class C is a child class for class A and class B. Am I right or not? So it has the rights to access all members of class A and class B. In other words, all A variable and A, class B members are available to both A class and B class members are available to class C. Now, when I use I is equal to I plus 10 in my class C, I is equal to I plus 10. If I use this, now from which superclass I value has to be taken? That's the question. If I call M1 method, from which superclass M1 method has to be taken here? This is a question here. This is a junction. This is a confusion state for us. If you think I value is coming from class A, I value is 10 in class A, I is equal to I plus 10, I is equal to 10 plus 10, 20. Is it a 20? If you think I value is coming from class B, so where I value is 20, I is equal to I plus 10, I is equal to 20 plus 10, then 30. Is it 30? If you think M1 method is coming from class A superclass, where X implementation has to be executed, is it X implementation? If you think M1 method is coming from class B superclass, then where Y implementation is available, is that Y implementation? So it's totally a confusion situation for the developers. Not only for the developers, it's a confusion situation for the compiler and JVM. Because of this confusion situations only, Java is a simple programming language. Moreover, Java is what their simple programming language. It should not allow all the confusion-oriented features. So Java is not thinking about this multiple inheritance inside the Java programming. So Java has restricted this multiple inheritance inside the Java programming. But how Java has restricted this multiple inheritance? How Java has avoided multiple inheritance? How Java has implemented not to allow this multiple inheritance concept here? No, there I given one point clearly. What is that point here I given there? To avoid multiple inheritance in Java applications, Java has defined extends keyword in such a way to allow only one superclass, not to allow more than one superclass. That means what's the point I'm telling there? Whenever we provided class A, class B, then class C. Inside this class C declaration, after providing superclass name A, if you put comma, that's enough. Compiler will recognize this is something about multiple inheritance. It's not available in Java. Then immediately compiler will raise an error. So extends keyword next to superclass name. That's enough. Up to that is okay. But apart from this, if you put any comma there, comma stands for what? Another superclass we are trying to provide. If whenever we are putting comma, that's sufficient for compiler to raise an error to stop the execution part to raise an error. Compiler will raise an error here. So some error, whatever it may be, that error may be anything, but exactly in this position, compiler will raise an error. That is what exactly the way to stop this multiple inheritance inside the Java programming. I think you are thinking about multi-level inheritance, no? Mm-hmm. No. Okay. Right, guys. Now this is about like what I'm telling to you, multiple inheritance. This content is existed clearly. Okay, fine. Right, sir. Now the next point is like what I'm telling to you. Next thing is like what I'm telling to you. Now 5 differences we completed overall. Am I right? Right, sir. The next point is like what now? Next one is listen carefully. Distractors are existed in C++, but distractors are not existed in Java. Distractors are existed in C++, but distractors are not existed in Java. Okay. Distractors are existed in C++, but distractors are not existed in Java. Right, sir. Observe carefully, all of you know. See, then once again I'm telling to you, multi-level inheritance, hierarchical inheritance, and hybrid inheritance is not required at present. Still, if you want to know that, I can give the diagrammatic representation. That's okay. Anyway, then people are thinking about this one. Then let me give that simple diagram also there. Multi-level, hierarchical, and hybrid inheritance. Don't worry for it. Just at least I want to give information. That's it. But don't think too much about this content here. What about this? Multi-level in the sense it's a combination of single inheritances in more than one level. Multi-level is what now? It's a combination of single inheritances in more than one level. Now this is superclass A, this is superclass B, and this is a class C. Guys, observe carefully. Anyway, this is, and people are asking to me, sir, what is multi-level, hybrid, and hierarchical? That's why I'm giving this information, but don't think too much about this. Just the architecture, the diagrams I'm providing there. Now this is class A. Now here extends now. Now here, this is like what there class B. Okay, here what we are getting there extends. Now this is like what there class C. Okay, A, B, and C. Three things are existed here. Don't declare the variables. If you declare variables and methods here, we may get confusion. No, but I will give later and I'll give clarity. But single inheritance we provide in more than one level. Like this next class D also, class E also we can take there. This is in general is like what there multi-level inheritance. Leave this one. Next one is what is hierarchical inheritance now? Hierarchical inheritance is nothing. It follows some tree structure. It's a combination of single inheritances only, but it follows like what now? Some tree representation, some structure, a particular structure it follow there. There's a binary tree structure, like this. Here it able to follow some structure. We can observe carefully. Just it is like what? In a particular hierarchy. Right. And this is like what their hierarchical inheritance. We can say this is like what their class K, and this is like what their class B, and here this is like a class C, and similarly class D. Next one is a class E and class F and class G. Okay, now here I can say extends relation is existed here like this. You can observe this clearly. Here we can say extends, and here also we can say like what there extends, and here also we can say like what extends, and here also we can say like what there extends. Now here extends, and here also we can understand extends. This is like what I'm telling there hierarchical inheritance. In a particular hierarchy, the single inheritances are provided here. This is like what their hierarchical inheritance. Similarly, what is this hybrid inheritance actually? Hybrid inheritance is also not possible in Java. Why it is not possible in Java? We'll understand it now. It is a combination of single inheritance and multiple inheritance. It's a combination of single inheritance and multiple inheritance. This I want to take class A. This is class B. This is class C. And again, this is like what now? Class D. Here, observe carefully. Now, we can understand this is class A. Here, this is like what? Class B. This is like class C and class D. Okay. Now here we can say extends keyword also here. Extends. It also be extends. Now okay, extends. If you observe class A, B, C, if you observe class A, B, C is a single inheritance. Class A, B, C is a single inheritance. But if you observe class B, C, D, B, C, D is what now? Multiple inheritance. A, B, C single inheritance. B, C, D is a multiple inheritance. It's both are combined or not? This is hybrid inheritance. So here now tell me multiple inheritance is exist or not existed? Existed here. Multiple inheritance is not existed. So this hybrid inheritance is also be not allowed in Java. As multiple inheritances existed inside a hybrid inheritance, hybrid inheritance is also be not supported by Java. Java does not support hybrid inheritance also, not only multiple inheritance. So these two types of inheritance are not possible in Java. Observe carefully. So this is what exactly other types of inheritances: single inheritance, multiple inheritance, multi-level inheritance, hierarchical inheritance, and what next one can know? Hybrid inheritance. Just these are the concepts we can understand clearly. But see, programming languages may support all, may not support all, may support some of them, may not support all of them. So, but that depends on the programming languages clearly. That is totally depending on what programming languages there. If you observe this Python, in the case of Python, multiple inheritance is possible. Multiple inheritance is possible. So no problem with the hybrid inheritance also. All the types of inheritances may be supported by Python. That is Python design. That is Python approach. But in the case of Java, multiple inheritance was not supported. Multiple inheritance is not supported in the sense definitely hybrid inheritance is also be not supported. So Java is supporting only three types of inheritances: single inheritance, multi-level inheritance, and hierarchical inheritance. That's it. Only these three types of inheritances are supported by Java. Other types of inheritances are not supported by Java clearly. Right, sir? Now, this is the content here we can understand clearly. No? Fine. Then what about the next one here? After completion of this, then what next one here? So the next topic would be destructors are existed in C++, but destructors are not existed in Java. Can I discuss this topic in the next class, guys? Maybe time may not be sufficient to explore this total content here. And shall we discuss this topic on next class? And when will be the next class? Tomorrow is Sunday, I think so, right? Am I right? So tomorrow no class. And day after tomorrow, Monday, we will have class. August 15th, I think so, right? Right? I think so. You don't require any holiday on Monday. Am I right? And people are not responding properly for me. Right? Definitely. Come to the class. We will celebrate inside the class. No problem. No festivals. Only if you want to take the holiday, then only we will take the holiday. Because of festivals, I don't want to give any holiday. Don't give the reasons here. Then August 15th, we will celebrate inside the classes. Right? Don't worry. Thank you. Thanks a lot. We'll meet on Monday. Monday we have session. Thank you. And guys, and this is only introduction part, not for oops, no. Then differences between Java and others, I'm talking there. Yeah, Monday 7 a.m. only. No, Monday 7 a.m. only, you have to come there. Okay? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. వస్తుందండి ఇంకా మీకు ఇంకొక 1 వీక్ తర్వాత ప్రోగ్రామింగ్ స్టార్ట్ అయిపోతుంది. తీసుకోవచ్చు, కంపల్సరీ తీసుకోండి, తప్పదు. మ్యాండ్ అరైకిల్ వచ్చేసి 17th స్టార్ట్ అవుతుంది. 17th అరైకిల్ స్టార్ట్ అవుతుంది. 22nd వచ్చేసి యూఐ స్టార్ట్ అవుతుంది. సో మ్యాండేటరీ. అంతే, అదే కదా తను అడిగింది కూడా అదే కదా. ఇప్పుడు ఏంటంటే ఏ కామ బి అని చెప్పి క్లాస్ సి ఎక్స్టెండ్స్ ఏ కామ బి అన్న అంటే పైథాన్ అజ్యూమ్ చేసుకోండి. అక్కడ ఫస్ట్ నాకు ఐ వేరియబుల్ క్లాస్ సిలో చెక్ చేస్తుంది, లేదు. నెక్స్ట్ సూపర్ క్లాస్కి వెళ్తాయి. సూపర్ క్లాస్ ఆర్డర్ ఏదైతే ఫస్ట్ క్లాస్ ఉందో దానిలో చెక్ చేస్తాయి. దానిలో చేసి అక్కడ వాల్యూ ఉంటే ఆ వాల్యూ తీసేసుకుని రీడ్ చేసుకుని అయిపోతాయి. అక్కడ వాల్యూ రీప్లేస్ అయిపోతే ఇంకా మన నెక్స్ట్ అవసరం లేదు. ఇంకా సెకండ్ బి క్లాస్ వెళ్ళదు. రెండు అప్పుడు ఇన్హెరిటెన్స్ లెవెలే మారిపోతుంది కదా, మల్టిపుల్ ఇన్హెరిటెన్స్ కాదు కదా, అప్పుడు ఓన్లీ సింగిల్ ఇన్హెరిటెన్స్ అవుతుంది కదా. అట్లా అంటే జనరల్ గా మనం అట్లా పెట్టాం కదా, మన రిక్వైర్మెంట్ మల్టిపుల్ ఎండెన్స్ రాస్తాం, సిచ్యువేషన్స్ ఆటోమేటిక్ వస్తూ ఉంటాయి ఇక్కడ. ఉమ్. అట్లాంటి సిచ్యువేషన్ అప్పుడు మల్టిపుల్ ఎండెన్స్ కాన్సెప్ట్ ఎందుకు వెళ్తున్నారు మీరు? అవసరం లేదు కదా. అదే అసలు మనం డిజైన్ చేసేటప్పుడే ఇంకా ఆ సిచ్యువేషన్ కనుక అక్కడ ఆ పాసిబిలిటీ ఉంటే మల్టిపుల్ ఎండెన్స్ దాకా వెళ్ళం కదా. మల్టిపుల్ ఎండెన్స్ కి వెళ్తున్నామంటే రీజన్ ఏంటి? జస్ట్ వీ వాంట్ టు గెట్ డేటా ఫ్రమ్ 2 సూపర్ క్లాసెస్ కదా. ఆ సిచ్యువేషన్ ఉంటేనే మనం అక్కడ దాకా డిజైన్ చేస్తాం కదా మన అప్లికేషన్. అదే రిక్వైర్మెంట్ ఇక్కడ సాటిస్ఫై అవుతుంది అనుకోండి, అంటే ఫస్ట్ సింగిల్ ఎండెన్స్ చూస్తాం. నాకు సింగిల్ ఎండెన్స్ సరిపోవట్లేదు, నా రిక్వైర్మెంట్ నెక్స్ట్ లెవెల్కి వెళ్ళాలంటే మల్టిపుల్కి వెళ్తాం. నా రిక్వైర్మెంట్ అంతా సింగిల్ ఎండెన్స్ సాటిస్ఫై అవుతుందంటే నేను మల్టిపుల్కి వెళ్ళను కదా, ఇక్కడే రాసేస్తాను కదా మొత్తం. కానీ ఇక్కడ నేను చెప్పేది ఏంటంటే పాయింట్ అంటే ఇదంతా కూడా ప్యూర్లీ పైథాన్ డిజైన్. పైథాన్ వాళ్ళు ఆ వేలో డిజైన్ చేశారు. జావా డిజైన్ ఇది మనం ఏదైతే చెప్పుకున్నాం అది జావాలో. ఇప్పుడు పైథాన్ లో క్లాస్ సి ఎక్స్టెండ్స్ ఏ కామా బి అన్న, ఏలో ఐ వాల్యూ 10 ఉంది, బిలో మేబీ బిలో ఐ వాల్యూ 10 ఉంది, సిలో ఐ వాల్యూ 20 ఉంది. ఓకే, నేను ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఏం చేస్తాను, క్లాస్ సి ఎక్స్టెండ్స్ బి కామా ఏ అని కూడా చెప్తా. అప్పుడు ఏమైపోద్ది, బిలో చెక్ చేస్తుంది, బిలో ఏ వాల్యూ ఉంటే అది తీసేసుకుంటుంది, ఏలో తీసుకోదు, ఇంకా నెక్స్ట్ తీసుకోదు. అదే ఇక్కడ ఏదైతే ఫస్ట్ సూపర్ క్లాస్ ఉండదో, మేబీ సి ఉండొచ్చు, బి ఉండొచ్చు, డి ఉండొచ్చు, ఏ సూపర్ క్లాస్ అయితే ఉండదో దానిలో చెక్ చేసిన వాల్యూ కనుక ఉంటే వాల్యూ తీసేసుకుని అందరితో వదిలేస్తుంది. ఇట్ విల్ నాట్ గో ఇన్ నెక్స్ట్ సూపర్ క్లాసెస్. ఇది ఇట్స్ టోటల్లీ డిజైన్ పార్ట్ ఆఫ్ ది పైథాన్. అంతే, పైథాన్ వాళ్ళు ఇచ్చిన ఇంప్లిమెంటేషన్. దాన్ని మనం యాజ్ ఇస్ జావాలో ఇంప్లిమెంట్ చేయలేం. జావా ఇస్ డిఫరెంట్. ఆఫ్ కోర్స్ మేబీ అంతే కదా. ఇప్పుడు నేను క్లాస్ ఏకి బి సూపర్ క్లాస్ అంటే బిలో ఉన్న ఐ వాల్యూ తీసుకుంటా. ఇమీడియట్ గా సి తీసుకున్నాను అనుకోండి, బి ప్లేస్ లో సి కమ బి అని అనుకోండి, సిలో ఉన్నది నేను తీసేసుకుంటాను. అంతే కదా, అక్కడ కన్ఫ్యూజన్ ఏం లేదండి, చాలా క్లియర్ అది. జావా అసలు ఫస్ట్ మనం బేసిక్ గా జావా పక్కన పైథాన్ మాట్లాడుతున్నాం. అంటే బేసిక్ గా నేనంటే మీకు అంటే వేరే లాంగ్వేజ్ ఎట్లా ఇంప్లిమెంట్ చేశానో ఒక సింపుల్ టేస్ట్ అట్లా చూపించాను. మీరు దీని వదిలిపెట్టి మీరు చూస్తే పైథాన్ క్లియర్ వెళ్ళిపెట్టున్నారు. రైట్, థ్యాంక్ మెథడ్ అండి అది. మెథడ్, అవును. వాయిడ్ అనేది ఒక రిటర్న్ టైప్ లాగా చూస్తాం, అంటే ఏం రిటర్న్ చేయట్లేదు నా మెథడ్ అనేది. అంటే ఇప్పుడు ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఇంటూ M1 మెథడ్ అనుకోండి, మై మెథడ్ డెఫినెట్ ఇట్ మస్ట్ రిటర్న్ ఇంటీజర్ వాల్యూ. ఫ్లోట్ M1 మెథడ్ అనుకోండి, దట్ మెథడ్ మస్ట్ రిటర్న్ ఫ్లోట్ వాల్యూ. మై మెథడ్ ఈస్ నాట్ రిటర్నింగ్ ఎనీథింగ్. I want to say not to written anything. Not written anything in the sense void I want to say no. But return type is mandatory. So even if you don't want written anything from that method, you have to specify that information. That we are saying in the form of void. Thank you. Any number of classes. Main class. That execution will start from main class and main method. The execution will start from main method and main class. Any number of classes you can take. లేదండి, మీరు ల్యాప్టాప్స్ చూసుకోవాల్సింది. మీరు అసలు నాతో మాట్లాడచ్చు డైరెక్ట్గా, మీకు ఎట్లాంటి ఇష్యూ నాతో రావచ్చు, నేను చూస్తాను. ఫ్రేమ్ వర్క్స్ అది అర్థం కాదండి మీకు ఇప్పుడే. ఇప్పుడు మీకు అంత రాదు, ఎందుకంటే అది ఎవరికి వేరే వాళ్ళ కోసం స్టార్ట్ చేసిన బ్యాచ్ అది. మీరు తీసేసుకుంటే ఇప్పుడు ఇమీడియట్గా మీకు ఏమున్నాయి, కోర్ జావా నడుస్తుంది కదా, రేపు 8:30కి స్టార్ట్ అవుతుంది. అంటే మీ కోర్ జావా 8:30 పెడుతుంది. తర్వాత వచ్చేసి రేపు 17th అరాకిల్ స్టార్ట్ అయిపోతుంది. 17th 10 o'clock అరాకిల్ స్టార్ట్ అవుతుంది. 22nd 11:30కి వచ్చేసి యూఐ స్టార్ట్ అయిపోతుంది. ఇవన్నీ ప్యారలల్ స్టార్ట్ అయిపోతాయి. ఓకేనా. సో అప్పుడు మీరు ఇక్కడ కోర్ జావా ఇంకా 1 month or 40 days తర్వాత అడ్వాన్స్ జావా స్టార్ట్ చేస్తాను నేను. ఎక్కడ 7 o'clock, ఈ క్లాస్ మంది 8:30కి వెళ్తే 7 o'clock అడ్వాన్స్ చేస్తాను. మీరు మార్నింగ్ అంతా ప్యాక్ అయిపోయి ఉంటారు మొత్తం కంప్లీట్ గా. విత్ ఇన్ 1 month లో మొత్తం ప్యాక్. ఉండదండి, అంటే వాళ్ళకి టెస్టింగ్ ఎంతవరకు అవుతుందో అంత చెప్తారు. యా, మ్యాక్స్ collections up to collections sufficient. Max, that's sufficient. Okay guys, and shall we meet on tomorrow? Shall we meet on Monday? Yeah. Poonam, right. Thank you guys, thanks a lot. Yeah, in English only, I used to talk in English only, don't worry. Thank you.